Hi guys, update number 4 I think it is on the Prado refit for the bed for the 120. Things have been going okay at the moment, so I'm actually taking a day off work today to see if I can get ahead of the game. Didn't have any time off over Christmas, so I've actually gotten pretty excited about this build and keen to keep pushing on. So anyway, I'll show you where we're at with the progress and what the plan is today. So as you can see, we've fitted off the roof to the back of the bed. It's not fitted down yet, but it'll give you an idea of the dimensions. We've taken this as far forward as we think it can go. What will most likely happen when Pat uses it is he'll put the seats forward a little bit just to give himself a bit more room. He doesn't have to, but we just wanted to maximize the length of the bed. See the overhang on this side where the control box will sit down under here. We'll work out whether or not we need some sort of grab rail or whether or not I jig something out of the top here as a bit of a handle, maybe on both sides. I'm thinking I'll probably need to do that. You can see I fitted off the piano hinge to this rear section. As I said, none of this is fitted down at the moment, so you can see that's flipping up. This rear section will fit down to this back rail. We'll glue and screw that along the back edge and along the sides, and that will be strong enough to hold this up. And I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand, I don't think. It's getting caught on the bed, but you'll see this lid will lift up. Anyway, I'll show you that when we sort of get to it, but this is essentially ready for carpet and paint on the inside. I'll get Pat filling some holes and just really getting it prepped for carpet. So that's a job that we'll certainly push on with today. That's it from the rear again. It is a little bit different on this side, as I said, with the control box on the other side. As I said, this side we've just kept a bit open. You can sort of see the overhang on that side, but again, it just allows for a little bit of storage around the sides. And we will have, when it comes to the water bladder on this side of the box, I'll work out some ports for where we can get some filling holes for the bladder itself, and maybe even a tap fixture or something, but we'll work out that a little bit later on. As I said, I'll take that knob off and neaten that up. But again, you can see the piano hinge on the back of the rail there, and that'll all come along. So really, the other part of the project today is we've picked up yesterday the King's 30-litre fridge. So that's it there. That's going to go in the back of the rig. It's been interestingly on the site, on the King site, they do say that it's a 260mm high, but it's actually not. It's actually closer to, if I show you, there my fingers. But you can see on the side there, it's actually closer to about 247, and that was one of my concerns. It's actually smaller than some of its competitors, which is great, because I was really concerned about its finishing height and not having enough room to fit off a top lid for it. Either which way, I am going to have to reconfigure this, because even from a width perspective, the problem is, once I've taken out this drawer, that these two guide rails for the sliders aren't, the width between these points won't work. So I've been thinking long and hard about this one. I'm thinking that now what I'm going to do is delete this whole side. I'll leave enough for essentially the rails for the bottom to make sure that this side of the unit is still sound, because it is fixed underneath by bolts. But I'm thinking of deleting out this side, removing out the wings, probably leaving the back side of the unit, and then essentially building a new timber box in here, and that will sort of help with a few things that when the fridge does finally go in, I've got to make sure that I've actually got something to fix off some face plates too, just to neaten this up with some carpet trim between the ends of the fridge. So I figure I've come this far, as opposed to sort of doing a rough shitty job and trying to make some other system work, that I can delete this side. I'm going to have to end up removing these runners from the inside, and probably, so I have to remove this drawer from this side, take out, I think there's about 7 bolts with bearings on them, which will allow me to essentially remove this sheet, because I don't think it's spot welded anywhere, so I think it's only held in there by the bolts. I'm hoping that's the case, and effectively we'll get back to this part of the flush sheet. So that means that this piece will come away. Like I said, I'll delete the washers, the nut will come closer to the face plate, and then I can just knock off the residual bits of the bolts with a grinder. And that will just allow me to get the box as far as I can this way. It'll allow me enough width this way. I can set up this side of the box, essentially just in the 19mm ply again. And then I can just reattach the wings to the outside of the box, because they are just fit off by some, 3 or 4 screws each. If I need to readjust the height, I can do that. And even if I need to build out some new wings, I've got essentially the templates there for a shape, and I can essentially use that design of the shape and just knock off some from this side. So I think that's going to be a better outcome. I'm intending to also put a floor on the box as well, just so that the fridge is actually not sitting on carpet, because I have got one fixing point here. I would prefer there to be 2. I might be able to somehow retrofit to this second back fixing point as well, but at a minimum I can get one fixing point into the 19mm, which is really just to hold it there, because it will be tight between here as a structure anyway, and that will fix it to the bottom, which will mean the fridge can slide in reasonably easy, and slide out if I need to pull it out pretty easy, because it would essentially just slide into the unit. And obviously if I do have a wall that is coming up this side, it means that I've got direct fixing points for the roof as well, the top. So and that will provide really the structural integrity to the box anyway, because the only weight on it's going to really be people sleeping on it, and the fridge in itself will sort of bear to some extent some of that weight as well. So so that's part of the job today, is to try and work through this. Obviously think about how that sets. I may even then end up still replacing this top board, because it's just, again, this is in 12mm, it's just a bit flimsier. So that's sort of the piece today. I'll see you soon. Okay, so I've gotten out the side, which was reasonably easy. It was just held in by a number of these sort of M6 hex head sort of screws into the side wall. So I've been able to remove that from the side. That'll allow me now all the flexibility that I need for the width of the fridge. I'm trying to get this panel off. I hope to God it's not spot welded anywhere. I don't think it is. I think it is only held in by the runners. To get to that, I need to take off the lid of the Titan drawer. For those that don't know, it's held in by a row of 4 hex heads bolt screws down either side. And you also have to remove these known hex heads as well out of the latch pull downs, so that I can get that off. So I'm going to take that off and see what I've got. If anyone's unsure as to how that you get these drawers out, it is a bit of a bugger because you do have to take off the roof to these Titan drawers, but you can see down the side there that there's some stoppers to stop the drawer rolling out. They're in a really awkward position because you have to essentially the screws are behind, the access to the screws is behind the drawer, so can't remember exactly how I'm going to take that off, but we'll give it a go. If I can get the drawer out. What is, I think, some good news is that these are 2 individual sheets, which is good news, and I can't see any spot welds. I've taken out the rest of the bolts, so yep, things are looking positive in terms of being able to get out those bad boys and doing a bit of a reset on those. I tell a lie, as you can see, the access to those stoppers, they're actually on the inside. And in hindsight, I probably didn't have to take out the drawers to get to those, but I have to get to it anyway because I'm going to need access for the hex head, so I can actually unscrew those bolts. So anyway, we'll push on and take out this drawer. Okay, we've made progress. We've taken out all the runners, all the bearings on this side. Anything that was holding essentially that sheet there to the side has now come out, so we've now got a nice flat face to work with. Really all I need to be able to do is to knock off these I guess braces, floor braces or bearers for the drawer set. Get those out. I'm not entirely sure whether I'm going to delete that back side and just cut it off. Haven't quite decided that bit, but what I do need to do now is just put in the rollers and the bearings back into this side, and again knock off those screws. And I obviously only need to mirror the bolts that go back in this side into the holes back into this side, so it's not a guessing game. I can use these as a reference to put back in here. So yeah, we'll get that done. So I've gotten those runners back in, the bearing runners. They're matched to this side here, so they're all back in, and we'll give it a quick test run to make sure I haven't stuffed that up. Put the drawer in before I do anything else. So there's the carcass for the drawer there. I've just dropped in the King's fridge there to see its fit, and you can see what I mean now that I've been able to get that face plate off that side. Is the bolt width will come, the nut I'm not going to be able to do anything about, but I can certainly just take off the ends of those bolts to give me it's probably another good 20 mil. So essentially that gap there will become almost my offset for the wall on this side. But most importantly, what it means is I'll have some timber facade to fix, just a little strip for carpet to neaten the whole unit up at the front here. So that will work good. I think I will, make essentially a 3-sided box that side walls on both sides, and the roof is the most structural piece. Once it's glued and screwed, even a 3-sided box is pretty strong. I'll probably put a 5mm ply base on it just to make it a bit easier for the fridge to slide and even fix down to. But it will depend a little bit on the height, because one of the challenges that I do have is you can see now with it sitting on the bottom rail of the Titan drawer is I don't have any issue in this drawer coming out. It doesn't foul against any of the plastics here. You know, my fear is at the moment is, you know, making sure that I do have enough clearance if it's sitting more or less on the carpet or even with 5mm, but I've also got to be able to get this height down to essentially the finished height of this, and currently there's a good sort of 8-10mm difference. So there's some of the things that we'll work through. My preference is not to have the floor directly on here. I'd like it to hover even if it was only 2, 3, 4mm. But it may be simply the case that it has to go directly on top. And so long as the unit's structurally got the walls and it's sort of essentially weight bearing to the floor, then hopefully it's not too much weight on the fridge. But anyway, that's not the preference. But now I've got my width, I can build out this side box, reset the wings on the box. Just from this side, you can see this is a 720mm fridge, so you can see there is a bit of clearance to what would have been the back of the Titan drawers. I'm still thinking that this bit I will cut out neatly on that side, take the box all the way to the end to match to the height here, and I may even drop in a little storage compartment here. I haven't quite decided that yet. Great thing about the fridge is it's Anderson plug with a little bit of an extendable hose or wiring, so I'll be able to just pull that straight through into the box, into the storage box. Obviously I'll fix it somewhere on this side with a little bit of clearance away from the battery, and that way I can just connect and disconnect the fridge as required. So yeah, all going okay, I think. Just an update on how we're going. There's Pat, my son. He's working on the on his car with me. We've taken a bit of a different tact from what I thought originally this morning, and it's mainly because the floor of underneath the fridge is going to be so uneven that I've decided that I'm going to hang the unit with the brackets as supplied off the roof, because it's 19mm structural. I will pack out the underneath, but given it's 19mm, I'm better off hanging it from the roof and then just making sure I've got some packers underneath the unit. It'll make sense, but you can see that I got all those rails out of the side, built 2 side walls, and now I've made the full back unit one unit that will sit over this entire area. So we've jigsawed out the holes that were part of the Titan drawers that will slot in over these threaded adapters. It'll make more sense in a minute. So at the moment what we're going to do is essentially be fitting off the fridge upside down whilst it's out of the vehicle. We're going to screw and glue a panel down this side, and we're going to screw and glue the middle panel, and we're going to lift that whole unit into the back and fit it off. I'm really hoping that makes sense and it bloody works. So let's see how we go. That's the finish unit now with the fridge in. You can see essentially it's hinged with the brackets. Sorry, I've used the brackets on the roof of that structural ply. There's probably about a 3 to 5mm gap to the sides. There's probably a sort of a 7mm either side. It's really parallel, really square. And essentially all we did was we had the unit upside down, measured out where the brackets were, where we wanted the offset to the front of the unit in relation to all the other, I guess, points. A bit of working through, but it's worked out really well. So this is only just going to have 2 sides. We're just going to punch out some ventilation holes for the back of the fridge just to make sure it gets enough air. We've got our centre divider. This is where the Titan drawer will go, and that will fit in the existing Titan pieces. So again, we'll put ventilation holes here because that's where the back of the unit is. I've left that open. I've just put in a brace below to keep it sort of structurally hanging together. And the only thing, Pat, that we forgot all about was that we were talking about putting maybe a small hinge section here so that we've got access to the back of the fridge, but we may not really need it now. So anyway, we're going to try it in the back of the four-wheel drive. Hey there, guys. Well, it's been a big day. We've gotten through it. I'll see if I can just sort of walk you through really a bit of a close out of it, but the plan today was to more or less get the back fridge sorted. Had a big change in plans really as the day planned out, because what I thought originally was putting the fridge on the floor, but it was just not going to work out where I could get the fridge level enough, and a whole bunch of other things that were going to be an issue. So anyway, I'll show you what I've done. So this is essentially just a bit of a dry fit now, but it's pretty good actually. I'm pretty happy with it, but you can see just sitting at the back of the unit, we've got the existing Titan door, sorry, I should say. We haven't really modified that other than removing out the side base plate, which we did this morning with the bearings. We took out the bearers, the other side wall on the left, removed out the backing plate, and essentially just been left with this drawer. We packed that, and essentially we've got sort of 3 connections to the floor of the four-wheel drive anyway, so that is still structurally perfect. But I did want to make sure, this is probably where we change it up, is originally I was going to run with 2 individual sheets, but it made more sense to put a single sheet, certainly in the 19mm, because it structurally has really it's just put a lot of structure into the unit. The big shift was we took the fridge, of which the plan was to sit it on the floor and just almost have it floating and somehow bracket it, which was always going to be hard when you're trying to get walls in at the same time, and we essentially reversed the brackets on them, and I fixed it off outside of the four-wheel drive, just sort of took the right measurements to fit to the brackets, and have fixed it to underneath that board, so you won't be able to see them, but essentially you can see that there's that's like a 7mm clearance, there's like a 5 to 6mm clearance up the top, and a 7mm clearance down this side, 19mm either side, which has been glued and screwed, and this thing's not going anywhere. It's I'm really pleased with it. What it's done by just simply fixing it to the roof of this top sheet too, is it's made it not foul at all on you know, the plastics of the car. So you know, you can see that it's got great clearance through the side. Just the thing doesn't move, which I'm just so pleased about. Again, we had to retrofit the 19mm to sort of suit what was the Titan drawer, so we used the old top of the drawers as a stencil, marked it out, obviously pre-drilled all of the hex head bolts, and all of these are the tie downs, which I'll add after carpet. Yep, so glued and screwed those down. I've just sort of thrown in the wings at the moment. We're most likely going to recarpet those so they match to all the existing. I've just got them in there now, and the good news is that they still fit. Probably use those as templates and cut some new ones, only because I'm not a big fan of the 12mm, because it's not the best quality sort of stuff. In terms of the front half now, so as I said, we've got, you know, the box is still sitting there. I've just taken, sort of butchered a little bit, but jigsawed out some handholds. This is not fixed down yet at the back because I've still got a drill for the battery, few other bits and pieces, and plus we want to get the rig out, so, or this whole unit out, so that Pat can start painting the inside. And what we'll do is wrap, you know, all the exteriors in carpet. We'll carpet the top, obviously in the handholds. We'll just sort of tie the carpet in just underneath and staple that down. Get all of that sort of more or less done out of the car, then put it back in, and we'll do the final fix off to that bottom joist and the back down into the floor. And we're really sort of ready for electrics after that. So look, I've got to say I'm really pleased with the way it's worked out. It's a great length for what Pat needs it to be. It's right on his head height. Again, he can put the seats forward a bit if he needs a little bit more space, but you can sleep diagonally if it's a real issue. But still think it ends up being about 1.85 from sort of top to bottom now. Yeah, so still plenty to do. Looking forward to getting into the electrics, and I'll sort of work through some videos as I go on that. Cheers.